truth. Fam, if you're new to the family, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share with somebody who needs the encouragement, somebody who needs this conversation. Just continue to support me. I feel the love. I feel the support. This is Yana Positive. And we're still of course in the series of First Love Yourself, Fly. Now, today we're gonna have the hardest conversation of all. I've tried to put it off for a very long time. But the name of the program is Speak Your Truth, the Untold, and so I'm here to tell the untold truth. I have battled with depression for a very long time, for as long as I could remember. It's not something I necessarily say to a lot of persons. I remember it came as a shock to a friend of mine that I actually admitted it when I was explaining to him why I released the quotes at night instead of in the mornings. And it's just to say that it's not something that you take very lightly. It's a mood disorder that affects the way a person thinks, a person feels, and how they act. It has a lot to do with a person's past. I was reading this book. It's called The Power of Love, Overcoming Depression, Anxiety, Guilt, and Stress. And it's a really, really good book. I'll try to put the link in the description below for you. But it's a really good book in helping your mental stability. In reading this book, it has a notation that says depression is something of the past. Anxiety has to do with stress of the future, and stress is the present, is now. So for depression, there's a lot of stuff that happens in your past that really haunts you. That is why persons are generally depressed. There's a lot of things that cause depression, such as abuse. Certain medications can induce depression. There is stress. There is illness. There are lots of things that can cause depression. As I said, it's a very, very serious thing that should not be taken very lightly. You have several symptoms of depression, such as increased fatigue, irritability in men, anxiety, different mood swings, a morbid outlook of death. And some major causes of depression, as I said before, are related to things that would have happened in your past. Now, as a child, my depression looked like persistent sadness. It was my pessimism about life. I did not have a very good outlook on life, and it did not help that I did not have a lot of friends, and that really increased when I became a teenager. And adolescence is a very difficult time, especially when battling something such as a mental disorder. It's very hard. I remember one of my pastors who was saying that teenagers generally have a sense that they are going through the things that they're going through. Nobody else experiences that way. They feel that they're unique in their problem. And for me as a teenager, that was how I felt. I felt like I was alone in the world. I felt like my problems were unique to me. And I remember when I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, I think my classmates were convinced that I had bipolar. In fact, my nickname in high school was Transformer, because this minute I was happy, next minute I was sad, this minute I was friendly, next minute I was leave me alone. So it was very hard for me when you threw the moods, you put the moods in. I remember one of my classmates saying to me that, you know, Anna, when you were in 8th and 9th grade, I didn't like you very much. And I said to her that I didn't like myself either, so there's no way you could have liked me. And for me, that is what I'm saying, that this journey of fly, first love yourself, is the very essence of our being. It's very important, because if we don't love ourselves, then there will be nobody else to love us, or nobody would see the sense in loving us. If we don't value ourselves, nobody will value us. So it's very important that we did this series, and it's very important that we looked at these topics specifically. So another thing about my teenage depression was I couldn't see myself living past a certain point, because I'd experienced such bad things in life and there was no persistent good for me, that I couldn't grasp living to a certain age. And it took adulthood and me taking control over my life to show me that there is some good in life. I was first diagnosed when I was 18 with borderline personality disorder, and that is a mood disorder, just like depression, but a little more intense. At first, when I got the diagnosis, I was in denial. I didn't want to admit this was what I was facing, but the truth of the matter is, when I came to terms with it, I realized that these were symptoms. I checked a lot of the boxes. Well, I checked all of them. And for me, for the period 18 years old, I let those symptoms define me for a while, until I realized that what I have doesn't define who I am or who I can be. It's how it is that I process this information and work towards it now. And I realized that if I knew what my issues were, then I could work on them. It was better than not knowing. So I'll share some of the characteristics of borderline personality disorder with you. It's an intense fear of abandonment, even going to extreme measures to avoid real or imagined separation or rejection. It's a pattern of unstable, intense relationships, such as idolizing someone one moment, then suddenly believing the person doesn't care enough or is cruel in another. Rapid changes of identity and self-image that includes shifting of goals, values, and seeing yourself as bad or if you don't exist at all. Periods of stress-related paranoia or loss of contact with reality, lasting from few minutes to a few hours. Impulsive and risky behavior such as gambling, reckless driving, unsafe sex, spending sprees, binge eating, or drug abuse. Suicidal thoughts and behavior, wide mood swings lasting from a few hours to a few days, ongoing feeling of emptiness, and inappropriate intense anger such as frequently losing your temper, being sarcastic or bitter, and having physical fights. Now, I checked a lot of these boxes because there were so many issues going on, and there were other issues that piled up with me at 18 that would have derailed me into believing that these define me, but they didn't. They didn't define who I was and who I could be. And for a while, it was unhealthy how I dealt with my issues, because how I deal with problems is I put them literally in my mind. There's a mental drawer, chest of drawers, and I put those problems in those drawers. I shut them close and store them under a table or under a bed. That's literally the image of how I deal with my issues in my mind. And it's very, very unhealthy. I'll tell you one prominent side effect I have of it. Because your brain is very powerful. Your mind is very extremely powerful. And what I did was I willfully forgot information because I couldn't deal with it. I was dealing with a lot and I just didn't want to remember. So what I did was I willfully allowed my mind to forget things. So what my brain now does is anything that it does not consider important to this moment, it forgets it all by itself. So I would have met some persons in the past that would have influenced me in such a great way, but for the life of me, I can't remember their names or how is it that I met them. Like, once I'm not utilizing the information actively, like I will never forget a face, but the details of it, it's like my brain just takes it and puts it in those drawers and put it away. So sometimes I meet persons and I know them, I have a strong feeling I know them personally, but I can't for the life of me remember how or remember their names. And sometimes I'll sit, depending on how much time has passed, I would sit and try to remember, and it would come back slowly. But I'm telling you this because forgetting things willfully, it's an unhealthy way to deal with your pain, no matter how much pain you're in. For me, going to NCU really helped. That really helped me to turn a new leaf, turn a new face on life, and to get a fresh start. And I was fine for a while, but I remember that I told you I put things away in a drawer and just put them away and don't look at them ever again. And it was a Saturday afternoon. We're at AY. I think it was a church I don't remember. And one of my friends, she's coming on tomorrow, guys, by the way. I'm really excited about that. She's a small woman, but she has a very powerful voice and a powerful way of speaking to persons. And she was sharing a testimony, and those drawers just ripped right open. I don't know what it was about that moment. I guess it was her vulnerability and her willingness to just share what she experiences. But when she started sharing, even though it wasn't as related to the problems I was faced with, it just started pouring out. Everything just started coming back. The drawers were ripped open, I tell you, and I could not stop crying. And for me, it became very hard. It began affecting my life because now I could remember everything. It began affecting my life, my relationships with the people around me, and I realized that now was the time I needed counseling, and my counselor would call that a breakthrough period, when you realize that you need help that you can't give yourself. I was there trying to help myself, and it was very unhealthy the way I was dealing with it, but I needed somebody outside that would actually help me. For me, it was a lot of things. I found it very hard to get up in the morning, and some days I couldn't get up any at all. It was very hard to sleep at night, because then that's when you slow down and you don't have anything to do but try to fall asleep, and it was very hard for me to fall asleep. So I would actually have to exhaust myself. I would be cleaning at 2 o'clock in the morning, washing clothes, and my neighbors must have thought I was crazy and are studying until I could no longer stay up. So it was very exhausting for me. I couldn't sleep. The stress I was having at university. Listen, university is very stressful. It's not for persons who are mentally unstable. It's really hard. Your head have to be on your body 100% of the time. And for the stress I was facing, that wasn't helping I was feeling either. And so I really got some help. And this is what I'm saying. It's not because I want to pour my heart out, or, you know, but I really want you guys to know that whatever problems you're faced with, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need help. Counseling is not for mad people. That's a perception, but it's really not. It's for persons who have issues and who can honestly say they don't have issues. You need somebody whose job is to help you become a better version of yourself. Even if it's just to talk to a reliable friend that not gonna tell nobody your business, or talk to the pastor, or just speak to a counselor. It's the best way to have an outlet. You could also do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of journaling. Write out stuff, record stuff. Even if you have to put a padlock on it or a password, just to ensure that you have a healthy outlet. Exercise, eat right, I cannot emphasize these things enough. Now, I am way better than I was in the past. Of course, you're now wondering why is it that my name is Yana Positive if I have such a bleak outlook or such a bleak background. But it's actually that specific reason. Speak Your Truth was born out of an experience I had one evening when I was listening to a Steve Harvey show. I love Steve Harvey shows. He has a way of telling you the truth without actually buttering it up like everybody else. And I live on motivational material. So I have stuff like I journal, I read books like The Power of Hope, and I usually have stuff such as these posted around my room. I'm gonna read this. This is my favorite poem. I'm gonna read this at the end. But I live on motivational materials, and it was that evening I was watching a Steve Harvey show, and I realized I've always wanted to do something with this channel. I always wanted to start a channel of my own, but I didn't know what I wanted it to be about. I started like thinking about a singing channel, you know. For those who know me, I do sing a little bit, and I did post 1 or 2 videos on my personal page, and I kind of stopped. That was like 2 years ago. I told you it was in the pipeworks for a really long time, but now I actually found the purpose of my channel, the purpose of my studies, the purpose of who I am, because I've grown so much, I've progressed so much, and the things that helped me to progress, I could use it to help others in that situation. So music helps, journaling helps, those things really help give you a positive outlook and uplift your spirit. And reading edifying materials such as these, The Power of Hope, and there are some other books that you could read, is really good. But let me just close off by reading Your Deepest Fear. But before that, I want to thank you for watching, thank you for supporting, and thank you for being the family that you are. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond all measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frighten us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others don't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. We're born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others the permission to do the same. As we're all liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.